Cody's going to get a friend request from a Paige Woods. Cody doesn't know Paige, but he accepts. Over the next couple months, there's a lot of messaging that starts. Paige wants to meet Cody. Tell you what, next Friday, there's a bonfire out in the desert. You know that really terrible part of Arizona where there's a lot of human smuggling and drug smuggling and a kind of a dangerous area? You down to meet at the bonfire in the desert in the middle of the night? The next morning when he's disappeared, they go out to that location. Cody's car is there. Driver's door is open. Very large blood stain right by his door.
Pinal County Sheriff's Office saying they have found the body of 25-year-old Cody Virgin. Officials revealing when they found Cody's car earlier this week, there was blood around it and shovel marks like somebody was trying to hide footprints.
Welcome to Socialite Crime Club. Where do you think the term catfishing came from?
You know, it definitely is a play on fishing, right? You're trying to find that great fish.
Right.
There's a lot of fish out there. So you cast your bait. You've got some really nice new bait. Maybe you got a new selfie.
Oh, you're talking about online. And I'm actually envisioning.
Yeah, it's a
fishing.
selfie, right? I put a selfie on a hook. I throw it out there, but It's underwater. I can't see who's nibbling on it. I can't see who's tugging on it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, boom, something just hits it. I set the hook, and I think I've got this just hog of a fish, this beautiful thing that I've been fishing for all day, maybe a big mouth bass, and I'm reeling it in.
Or a pretty trout.
Beautiful rainbow trout. I've been wanting one my entire life.
Oh.
They're pulling, I'm pulling, they're pulling. Like
There's chemistry.
It's happening. I finally have a rainbow trout. And then it breaks the water. And it's just this nasty, ugly catfish. Yeah.
On today's episode of Socialite Crime Club, we are bringing you a gritty crime, which is dark, intense, with severe violence. This case involves physical harm and death. Hey there, Socialites. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to ask you to visit our sponsor website, aura.com, aura.com/Socialite Crime Club. If you'd please just meander your way over there, take a look at what they have to offer to protect information on your device, on your children's device, even on the elders that you may live with or care for. We would appreciate you going in, just checking in for a free trial there, see what they have to offer, and let us know what you get out of it. We'd love to hear feedback from you. Again, check them out. Leave your comments about them in our comment page at Socialite Crime Club channel.
We're going to start this case in 2010. Just because we've got to go back to where the relationship kindled, right? That first love.
All right.
William Randolph and Natalie Felix.
Okay.
Given their age, if they didn't go to high school together, they probably knew each other in high school. I'm thinking small towns, central Arizona. I'm sure their paths crossed somewhere in high school time because by the time they're 20, they have fallen in love and they're getting married.
Oh,
so a very young marriage. Everything looks like it's a pretty good relationship. They don't have kids, thank God.
That's probably good.
It's a good thing they don't have kids. For all intents and purposes, they're married, they're living together, they're getting on with their life. William is going to become a truck driver. And I don't quote me on this, but I think he hauls fertilizer. There's a little town in central Arizona called Casa Grande. And then there's a town on the west side of Phoenix called Buckeye. And I think he drives a truck primarily between Casa Grande and Buckeye delivering fertilizer back and forth.
Okay.
Natalie is going to pursue a career as a correctional officer. Now, in Arizona, there's a lot of private prisons. So the state actually contracts with these private companies that run prisons.
So she's going to work as a corrections officer at one of these private prisons.
Yes, in Eloy, Arizona. So it's kind of central Arizona still. There's 3 or 4 little tiny towns, Eloy, Casa Grande, Arizona City, just kind of right smack dab in the middle of Arizona. Sometime in 2016, Natalie takes an interest in a coworker, Cody Virgin.
And she's married.
She is married. Cody is not. Cody is also a corrections officer at this private prison, and they just kind of hit it off. And I don't know exactly when it goes from coworker to maybe a romantic interest to dating. That timeline's not clearly defined.
Those timelines can become very blurred.
Yes, they can, especially when you're married. Sometimes those things get hidden for a reason. Her marriage isn't going good at the same time. And again, I'm having a hard time finding some of the early stuff on this case. I believe there was an order of protection that was issued at some point by Natalie to William.
Okay.
So Natalie and William have got some things going on that's probably not the best relationship.
Okay.
In 2016, though, Natalie and Cody are going to become much more serious. They start dating. They start posting on Facebook, so it's kind of out. They really enjoy road tripping to like Las Vegas. They've got a couple Las Vegas trips.
Is she
together.
Separated already with the order of protection in place?
I'm thinking this is probably around the time that she separates from him. I don't know where she's living at this point, but she's still married when she first starts dating Cody.
Okay.
She's going to file for divorce in August of 2016. So by the time they get to August, it's kind of official, like I'm getting divorced.
Right.
That divorce will be granted in December. From all intents and purposes, if we just look at Facebook, Cody and Natalie do really well together between that time period.
They almost look similar, don't they?
Yeah, their kid would almost be like a perfect match between them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously this is Cody and Natalie. Cody is on the left here. And yeah, their Facebook is flooded with pictures like this. They appear to be really happy together. They're spending a lot of time together. They're doing a lot of fun things together.
Okay.
No indications at all that there's anything wrong with this relationship. We've got a bit of a weird love triangle here, though, that we need to keep on the radar. And I'm going to recap a couple times because it's important our socialites understand.
Is this part of the order of protection?
No, this is after the fact. So let me just kind of go back and piece some of this together. So in August, that divorce is filed. Cody and Natalie are a thing. In October, Cody's going to get a friend request per Facebook from a Paige Woods.
Oh.
Cody doesn't know Paige, but when he looks at her profile after getting this friend request, he notices, oh, we have a lot of friends in common. And they all grew up in this general area. So that's not
maybe
surprising.
someone from high school that he's just not remembering.
Right. And he doesn't really give it much thought because this person knows a lot of people he knows. It must be somebody he knows. He just doesn't recall them. So boom, he accepts the friend request. Innocent enough.
Okay.
However, over the next couple months, there's a lot of messaging that starts. And Paige is definitely the aggressor here. Paige is becoming very flirtatious with Cody over that course of October, November.
Okay.
And by November, December, this is more than just a friend request. It is now kind of an online romance, flirtatious relationship going back and forth.
And Cody is reciprocating.
100%. He is definitely showing some interest. So this is that part where I'm saying there's nothing to show on the outside that there's anything wrong with Cody and Natalie's relationship. But Cody's definitely appears to me maybe flirting.
He's a little player in the sandbox.
Yeah, he's playing the field a little bit.
Okay.
Now, just so everybody's tracking our characters so that everybody gets the names. William, divorced truck driver, still very much in love with Natalie.
Okay.
Natalie, prison guard, who has started a new relationship with a coworker, Cody. Cody, being Natalie's coworker and new love interest, is also growing a flirtatious relationship online only with Paige Woods. And Paige is this Facebook request that he received that now has grown into this flirtatious online conversation.
Oh no. This is a love square, not a triangle.
Yeah, and the shape is going to get redefined a couple times, so stand by with that thought. And making that timeline important, because this timeline is actually really important as we get into the actual crime that's going to come up here in a little bit. Divorce is in August. Paige and Cody start chatting in October. Divorce is finalized in December. Natalie and Cody seem to everything's good, but come January, Paige wants to meet Cody.
Oh, okay. What does Paige look like? Do we know?
I don't. And I'll explain why here in just a little bit, to some extent.
Okay.
I'm thinking her photo has to be fairly attractive. And the reason for that is, if you were going to meet somebody for the first time that you met online, you've only chatted back and forth, you don't know them other than these chats, where would you meet?
A public place, Starbucks or some tea shop or, I don't know, a restaurant.
So if you and I had met online and we're chatting, we think we like each other. We're having fun, flirtatious conversations.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, hey, Keri, tell you what, next Friday, there's a bonfire out in the desert. It's kind of south of Arizona City. You know that really terrible part of Arizona where there's a lot of human smuggling and drug smuggling and kind of a dangerous area?
All the highways are littered on your way there.
Yeah, but there's this bonfire location that's super fun. probably going to be some people out there. About 10 o'clock Friday.
Handful of tumbleweeds we could sit on?
Yeah. You down to meet at the bonfire in the desert in the middle of the night?
I would delete you from my Facebook account.
Yeah. Cody says, okay.
Oh,
Sounds good. Now, I think it's
okay.
another interesting component here. When you hear a date, first date, being thrown out of, hey, let me take you to a bonfire in the desert.
Yeah.
Who typically would make such an offer?
High school, like a first date wouldn't do that. I imagine high schoolers chatting about this online so that they can go drink together.
If I was ever propositioned by a female for that to be the first date,
it's not a hot chick.
Flag. No. Hot chicks don't go hang out at bonfires meeting guys that they met online for the first time.
Yeah, she wants to go to a wine bar or a nice resort, like restaurant.
There's all kinds of things that are red flags here, but Cody's interested and he's not going to let this pass up. So he agrees to meet her. So
clearly there must be more than flirtation happening.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking. What is it about Paige? And I've seen a handful of these messages and they were pretty G-rated, just
mild,
fun, flirty messages, right? But at some point, there's got to be something that he is getting out of this relationship because this does seem very risky. He appears to be in a good relationship with Natalie.
Right.
And he's jeopardizing that. He, for all intents and purposes, knowing what I've dug up with Cody, working this case and then both putting this episode together, he's a smart kid.
Well, and he works at a prison. He should know some dangers and red flags of what bad people do.
He's also very responsible. His mom died when he was 9.
Mm.
He was the oldest of the siblings. He went to work at 18 to help support his family.
Oh my gosh.
Like, he is a very responsible, very smart guy. So it's kind of interesting. Why take such a risky meetup, or at least for what us appears to be risky?
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, well, he must. So I was thinking she just has to be smoking hot.
Right.
Got a picture.
You do?
I do.
Let's see. This is hilarious. Oh my gosh.
But it's sad.
But it's really how it happens, right? You start getting these images of people who want to friend you, and you immediately know this is not a real person.
This is what scares the hell out of me. I don't think I could ever do online dating because I've worked too many of these cases. Make no mistake. This is who's behind the Paige Woods Facebook page.
Right.
This is who Cody's been chatting with for months. Very flirtatious.
Yeah. And we just talked about this in Spider and the Fly about receiving friend messages or people looking at you, or
you've got to do some instant verification. You know, we live in a time where you can do a Google Meet, what's the FaceTime. There's so many things out there now that you can meet in real time and see a face.
Yeah.
How people don't include this by the second or third conversation back and forth these days, I don't know.
Well, not only should you be looking for a face, you should also look at how they keep their house around them, behind them. Have them do a walkthrough of their bedroom.
You're screening
them. Do they
right?
keep their bathroom clean?
Can you please open your bathroom door?
Yeah. And if you're a woman, you should probably ask them to take you into their garage, and do they know how to use certain types of tools, right?
Show me your kitchen sink. When was the last time you did dishes?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you empty your dishwasher often? Show me your carpet. Do you keep your carpets clean?
Are your clothes folded?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, you would think that, anyway.
They don't.
But yeah, that's the Paige Woods. You know, there was a kind of a TikTok thing that was going on for a while that was the, oh no. That's all I could think of when I first started working this case and I saw William Randolph's picture show up. I was like, oh no. William has created this Facebook account and he made it under the name of Paige Woods. I think he just stole some other female's picture. That's why I was like, let's not get into that too much.
Well, it's easy to go into Google and steal images from Google.
Facebook. You can go into Facebook and just copy pictures. You can copy an entire profile there fairly easily.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, what's really important to understand, William is not over Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
And he very much blames Cody for his marriage.
Mm-hmm.
He does not like Cody. So this meeting, like I said before, it's going to happen about 10 o'clock at night. William is going to head out first. William lives in Arizona City, which is a little further south than Casa Grande.
Okay.
Cody lives in Casa Grande. I've got some little video clips I'm going to show here in a minute. Before I show those clips, I want our socialites to be following here. We're going to talk about timing data again. So this is Verizon, and this is where we know how far the cell phone is away from the cell site. And if anybody, after all of the episodes we've done on timing data, is still on the fence about how accurate timing data is, this is the final case that's going to sway you. I am convinced of it. Okay. So I've just clipped out a few pieces. In our live this Sunday, we'll probably cover a little bit more on this because there's some really fun things with the timing data on this one that's just out of this world. But when you watch this next little clip, blue is Cody. So anything you see in blue is going to be Cody, the victim. Okay. Red is going to be William, the suspect. And that's typically what I do whenever I'm making an animation. The suspect or the bad guy is always red. So it's just a good way to orient it when you see it. All right. So as I go to this little clip, we're going to start on the map. I drew a yellow line kind of right down the middle. Mm-hmm. That's a road that's leading from William's house to the bonfire location. You can see a blue tower up in Casa Grande up at the top, and it's kind of moving to the south. And then you can see the red, which is William. And when I said William goes out first, you can kind of see that gap between them, right? And then eventually they're both going to end up.
When you say you can see the gap between them, you can see the arcs of the lines projecting the cell site signal where they're meeting.
Yeah, if you look at that, as they both move to the south there, the red lines were just a little bit ahead of the blue lines the whole time. And that's because William was about 10 minutes ahead of Cody. Another thing right here, and this is really important. I've heard a lot of experts who want to argue about how far a cell phone can cover. And sometimes other people, myself included, in their opinion, overestimating cell tower coverage. And it's almost like they think that I just picked a random number off my top of my head. When we created this timing report that we mapped, or the way that we mapped it, we actually archived and we would analyze those reports. And we have seen millions and millions of connections throughout the United States on all of the networks using timing data. I paused it here because I want everybody to see this tower that's off to the right. It's up on a giant mountain range in Arizona, right in the center of the state.
How far away is that?
47 miles.
From where their devices are actually at. But
you
they're
can
still
see the
connecting
arrow.
with it.
See that there's two cell sites right there in Arizona City. One is red, one is blue. Mm-hmm. And then I've got those arcs intersect kind of right where the arrow is. And then we get a third cell site. So trilateralization, we get a third cell site that's going to cut that arrow right in half, right?
Because it has line of sight to that meet location.
47 miles. So when I hear people say, oh no, cell sites typically only cover 3 to 5 miles, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's not because I'm making things up. It's because we have thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of examples now where we can see the cellular network in certain areas reaching out 40 to 60 miles.
Well, I think one of the furthest ones that we did see actually connect was around 68 miles.
And we were streaming a YouTube video with that connection.
Yeah.
So
that was crazy. After that, it started to break up.
Yeah, it would start to break up.
Miles.
So just so people know, in the right environment, and I think that's the other piece, we're in the desert, not a lot of trees, not a lot of foliage. There's a mountain way off. You have line of sight 47 miles away where you can see that mountain peak.
In this area, too, there's really no cacti either.
No, there's not much of anything there. So anyway, this is the meetup. It's pretty clear both phones end up there. Prior to Cody going out and meeting Paige, he does meet with a cousin of his who's a really good friend as well. And he tells her, hey, I met this girl online. I'm kind of interested in her. This cousin knows about Natalie, but she's like, okay, well, let me know how it goes. That sounds interesting, exciting. Okay, so he does tell somebody that he's going to this meeting. Well, the next morning when he's disappeared, nobody can find him. His phone isn't working. He's not showing up to work. The cousin gets worried and she's going to call law enforcement. This is going to be the first law enforcement report of Cody's missing. They're going to start the investigation of a missing person. Now, the cousin's going to say he met this person online, this female, Paige Woods.
Okay.
And this was this Facebook conversation that he was going out to meet her in the desert. And that's the last time anybody saw him.
Did Natalie ever make a report or get
Not
suspicious
that I know of.
or concerned?
I think she was concerned and suspicious, but I also am going to give her a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here because she knew very early that Cody was going to meet another female in the middle of the night in the middle of the desert. So she may have a little bit of apprehension about, wait, why would he do this?
Yeah.
I'm sure she felt a little betrayed at the same time.
Yeah.
Law enforcement is going to quickly go through Cody's Facebook. They're going to get the warrant so that they can look at Cody's Facebook. And sure enough, there's the messages describing the location he's supposed to meet Paige. So they go out to that location. Cody's car is there. Driver's door is open. There is a very large blood stain on the ground right by his door. Enough so that Cody's probably not alive.
Right. He probably didn't see a whole lot of friendly action when he got out of the car.
I think that is a very safe statement to say based on the evidence they're seeing there. Now, you could tell where somebody like tried to rake or smooth over the dirt to hide some tracks, but they weren't very good.
Okay.
They left several shoe imprints all over the scene, as well as tire tracks. Now, granted, it's night. They probably couldn't see it that well, so they tried to clean up, but they left a lot of evidence behind.
Okay.
But law enforcement can't find Cody's body at the same time. It appears something terrible has happened, but they don't know where Cody's at.
Okay.
They're going to start digging into this Paige Woods a little bit more. Obviously, that's the common connection. They're going to get Paige Woods' Facebook account. You know how you have to put a cell phone number in when you create a Facebook account?
Yes.
They look at that, and it appears that Paige Woods used William Randolph's cell phone number to create that account.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's smart. So because of that, they're going to go interview William. And William's going to play this off very quickly like, oh, that is weird. She would use my cell phone number. I don't know why she would do that. I know her. We used to go to church together a long time ago, but I haven't seen her in years. Law enforcement knows it's BS, but they still don't necessarily have enough to do anything. Remember, we haven't found Cody at the same time. And he basically states, I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this Cody guy. And somewhere in this interview also comes up, by the way, I don't even have a truck right now. I couldn't get out there if I wanted to. My truck's broken down. It's in the shop.
When did it go in the shop?
A couple days before this. So his truck is missing. Now, obviously, they're concerned that Cody was potentially killed at the crime scene there and then hauled off somewhere else. So the fact that they can't find William's truck is kind of a big deal now.
Right.
So they're also looking for William's truck. Now I'm going to continue our timing data. And when I hit the play button here, what you're going to see, they're still at this bonfire party scene where it appears Cody was first killed.
And what time is this at?
This is going to be about between 10 to 11. They're there for almost an hour. At least their phones are there for almost an hour. When I hit the play button, you're going to see the blue and red arcs are going to start moving back to the north. And I still have that yellow line on the map to show the road that they're traveling on. So let me click a couple buttons here. And right here, we start to see that movement. That is when they're leaving the crime scene. And if I start going through some of the other times, we're going to see that both devices travel back to the north, then over to the east, and then back up to the north. See all those white squares right there? That's the prison Cody works for. They're going to drive right by Cody's work. They're going to continue to the north. Now, accuracy on timing, there's a lot of roads you could turn left and right on. They're about to turn right.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look, it's right there. I'll put a little line up there so you can see.
The yellow line.
Yep. So he hits that first arc in the intersection. The next arc shows that that device probably moved slightly to the right. And then we get one of those great three-way hits again, the trilateralization.
Now, did they both have Verizon?
They both have Verizon, and both phones are clearly traveling together right now.
Because I'm not seeing both blue and red arcing together on all of them. So I was just wondering.
Well, remember, they're intermittent. They're not going to hit perfectly at the same time. So you're going to get some from blue, some from red, and some from the same at the same time. So it's kind of a combination. There's a canal out here, and that canal, there is one bridge about 5 miles either direction. And these hits go right over the top of that bridge. So it looks like they cross the bridge. They go back to the north. They're going to hang a right again, and they're going to go out on this dirt road that just kind of goes out in the middle of nowhere. And you can see, like right here, we have 4 or 5 towers plugging in at the same time, all overlapping in that same general area.
It gives you some really good location information.
X marks the spot. It is not difficult to figure out where these devices went. Now, I always look for that max distance. When we see somebody traveling out in the middle of the desert, where do they stop? How long do they stop? And we see that the phone stops right here. And it's going to stop for about another hour. So it's going to be there for quite a while. I'm going to drop a little push pin right here and say, hey, you guys should search here.
Yeah. That's about how long it typically takes for people to get rid of a body.
About an hour? It
Yeah.
seems like it, huh? Depending on
Yeah.
what they're doing. I want to talk a little bit about the squirrel effect. I think I talked about this on one other episode. So I literally gave the investigating agency latitude and longitude on this case. They were driving out to the area. They got distracted and they found an old mine shaft.
We did talk about this on another episode. Yeah.
And I called it the squirrel effect because they just completely got distracted, ignored everything that I told them. They found the mine shaft, and in their head, they're thinking, if I was going to dump a body, I would dump it down the mine shaft. And they spend the better part of about half a day investigating this mine shaft to the extent of trying to fly a drone down into the mine shaft.
This is where they lost the drone.
They crashed the drone. It goes to the bottom of the mine shaft. So now they have to do a drone rescue. Right. There is no body in the mine shaft.
Refocus.
Well, they call me back all disappointed, like, hey, we're out here. We found this mine shaft. He's not there.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, yeah, you're in the wrong spot. That's not where I marked. Here's where I marked. And it was a ways for them still. They have a helicopter, so they just said, screw it. We'll send the helicopter over there. The helicopter pilot calls it out a quarter mile away that, hey, that lat long you gave me, there's a giant burned out area in the desert right there. Somebody lit something on fire right there and burned a big area out.
Like a body?
Like a body. So they drive out there, and sure enough, poor Cody is found. He has been burnt. He has what appears to be a shotgun wound to the head. So it looks like as soon as he got out of his car at the bonfire location, he is shot in the back of the head with a shotgun. His body is then transported out to this other location in the middle of the desert where he's burned. His entire body isn't burned though, so he still has good fingerprints with his fingers, and they're able to identify him as Cody with the fingerprint identification. But we're not done. We've got a lot of great data here. This is the other thing where people always hear me say, look at all the records. Okay, we found the crime scene, we found the victim, but there's so much more going on here.
Right.
Going to play another little thing. What we're going to see here is this is William leaving the crime scene where he burned Cody's body. So you're going to see red and blue start to come back to the west.
Because he still has Cody's phone?
Both phones. And then he drops down on that canal, and I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit. And what I'm going to show you is where this canal is and a bridge. This is the only bridge over this canal, about 5 miles either direction. As we zoom back out, notice the overlaps we get to that bridge.
Over the bridge.
This will be the last time you ever see Cody's device on.
He dumped it in the canal.
Most likely.
Okay.
Yeah, if I had to guess, this is where it got dumped. So when we think about this, recovering evidence of a major crime, we probably know where the victim's phone just got dumped, right? And when we get that kind of accuracy, it's hard to argue if this stuff is accurate or not.
Were they ever able to recover the device?
No, and I don't know how much effort they put into it. The canal's fairly swift. It's not like they're going to dive the canal.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there was ever a true effort put into it, but we're not done. He is driving home, and I'm going to try to get through this next piece to make it really obvious. Sometimes these little tiny deviations, if you know what you're looking for and you see a little deviation on the timing, stop. Go back and really focus on this one. This one is going to be really significant. So I've got another yellow line on the screen here. He is traveling west along that yellow line. So when I hit the play button here, you're going to see the overlaps of those arcs are going to continue as he travels west. So there he is going out west. He's almost to the end. Boom. There he is at the end of the yellow line. He's going to turn left, and he's going to drop down to the south right there. And I'm going to flash the line. He's right at the bottom.
Okay.
Now, he lives by the cell tower, but notice he goes the other direction.
Yeah, that's a big neighborhood. It looks like there's maybe a golf course there by the tower.
But he goes the other direction.
Right.
For a brief minute, he hangs a left, and he comes back to the east, right into this area right here. I zoomed in. I'm trying to figure out, like, what the hell is there? And he's there for almost 20, 25 minutes.
Just looks like empty land.
Yeah, if you zoom and clean this up a little bit more, you can see a bunch of debris on the bottom, kind of the bottom left side. It's like old washing machines. There's a couch, some mattresses.
It's a dumping ground.
It's just a dumping ground out there. Okay. So I call the agency back and I tell them, hey, I'm really concerned where I'm seeing this deviation. Just before he got home, he turned, he went the opposite direction. He parked his truck for what looks like 20 minutes. It's going to be right in this area, basically the screenshot we're looking at right here. He's there for 20 minutes, and then he goes home. You guys should probably check this area out. They've got a lot going on with the investigation. It's going to get kind of shelved for a little while. They're not going to follow up on this yet. But it's a really good example of those deviations and how we can see them.
In your head, you're thinking, why didn't he just dump this in his front yard?
Yeah, it's probably the same. Careful analysis by going through more and more, because remember, they're missing the truck. So they say, hey, that's really interesting about that little field. He may have stopped there, but we're trying to find his truck. Can you go back through and look? And I find a tire shop that he spent some time at the day after the murder. They go and make contact at that tire shop. And sure enough, the day after the murder, William comes in and gets a new set of tires put on his old truck.
Oh.
Kind of interesting timing.
Mm-hmm.
With everything we have here, they're going to arrest William. The media picks it up, puts out his arrest, the fact that Cody is dead.
Did they keep his tires there? Were they able to recover the tires?
No, he insisted upon taking the tires with him. However, when the media captures this case and starts putting it out on the news, a friend of William's comes forward, contacts law enforcement and says, hey, like a day after that murder, William called me and asked me if I could hang on to some old tires for him, which I thought was kind of weird. I did. They're at my house. Do you guys want them? So obviously they go over, they pick up the tires. It's a perfect match to the tire tracks that were found at the bonfire.
Wow.
So now it's looking pretty good with that as well. Here's a picture of his truck. This is with the new tires.
Is he parked in his yard there?
Right square in the middle of the front yard. I'm sure he's not too worried about the grass, if that's what you're
It
concerned
looks like a newer build, possibly almost like newer track homes. Maybe he just didn't have landscaping in yet.
Yeah, I mean, why put landscaping in when you can use it as a driveway?
Yeah, it's a man's truck, isn't it?
That is a man's truck. Obviously, this is taken at the time of the search warrant. They're going to serve a search warrant on William's house. They're going to recover a pair of shoes that also match the shoe impressions that were taken from the bonfire scene. So now they have tire impressions, they have shoe impressions. They can put him there. They can put him at the site where Cody's body is found. Additionally, they're going to find Clorox bottle, an empty Clorox bottle in the back of his truck. And he was talking to a friend about needing Clorox to clean out his truck. So it's not looking good, but there's so much more.
So his friend, was it the friend who he gave the tires to that gave him the Clorox bottle, or a different
friend altogether? His friends are giving him up pretty quick. With friends like these, we don't need cops.
Are they really friends?
Yeah. Now, here's what's interesting is once they kind of get caught up here, they think, okay, Sly mentioned something about this field. Let's go check this field out. He has some truck driving type stuff that somebody might keep in the back of their truck if they're a truck driver, such as these almost like railroad ties that are cut up into these small blocks that they can use as chocks to put trailers on when they're hooking and unhooking trailers. Mm-hmm. He's got a bunch of chain, and it appears that maybe he had Burger King for lunch, and there's a Burger King bag. So when they go to this field, they find very similar tracks to what they found at the bonfire. They can see where it pulled in, backed up next to this tree. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of where that truck would be, there's a pile with some of these trailer chocks, if you will, some chain, and a Burger King bag. It looks like all of these items have blood on them.
Oh.
So they're going to seize everything. It's Cody's blood. In the Burger King bag, there's a receipt.
With his debit card information.
With William's debit card information.
Mm-hmm.
That deviation, even though it seemed really minor, actually shows when he stopped and he got rid of physical evidence. And I want to make this super clear. Whenever I'm working with timing records in cases like this, it is more common to find evidence than it is not. And what I mean by that is when we really break these records down, we start to see where people dumped evidence, where they took the body, when the actual murder occurred. It is that revealing. And if you think back to sandwich tax, right, that the RTT and the timing on that was beautiful.
Well, more specifically, places that they go after a crime or before a crime that they don't typically visit.
Right. And it's so obvious, especially on dead-end roads, which is a great segue for this one. And I saved our viewers. We'll cover some of this on the live, but I could have talked for 3 hours on the timing with this one. So I just took a static screenshot. What do you think that looks like there?
It looks like a big green field, maybe, or water.
Sewer treatment facility.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a real shitty place to work.
Did he go there with evidence?
The day after the murder, after he gets back from work, he goes to this area, and then you can see there's a road to the left of that green pond. Those are the sewer wastewater ponds. So there's a big one kind of at the bottom and then 2 smaller ones at the top there,
It's just in the middle of the desert.
in the middle of the desert. And you can see the road that runs parallel to those ponds on the left-hand side, and then it goes up kind of into some trees.
Right.
Google screwed this up a little bit. That dead ends. It doesn't go through those trees.
Okay.
He drives right to the dead end next to those trees where the 2 smaller, darker squares are at.
Okay.
He's there for maybe 5 minutes and he leaves. So I'm thinking, okay, he's dumping evidence. There's no doubt this is another dump. Law enforcement had pieced together the murder weapon was definitely a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
They know William owns a 12-gauge shotgun from some other records they found. They have not recovered that shotgun. So that's the only thing we're missing at this point is the shotgun. So I called the agency back and I said, hey, it's going to be a real shitty job, but I think you probably need to check out the sewer treatment plant. It might be worth your time to actually see what's in the pond.
Did they send divers in?
They checked it out. No shotgun. I felt terrible.
Oh.
I felt so bad. But what do you do? I'm seeing what I'm seeing. And they're like, yeah, sorry, there's nothing there. And they kind of write this one off. Now, this murder happened in January of 2017. It's going to take a while for this to go to court. This is going to be a very slow progressing case. About a year later, this is the Casa Grande water treatment plant.
Mm-hmm.
In the city of Casa Grande Police Department makes a traffic stop one night. Little gang members.
Okay.
In the back of the car, shotgun with the serial numbers. They run the shotgun. It comes back as a potential murder weapon of this case that the local sheriff put into the system. So all of a sudden they're jacking up these gang members of, hey guys, you have a shotgun in the back of your car that's connected to a murder. And of course they are, whoa, we didn't do any murder.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't me. Like, what do you want to know? Well, where did you get the shotgun? This isn't going to sound right, but I bought it off a bum. And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Who's this bum? He's like, well, I don't know, but I know where he lives because he's lived there for years. He lives out by the sewer plant. And they're like, wait, what? So they take this guy out there and he takes him to the exact spot that the timing stops. And he walks into the trees and sure enough, there's a little bum camp.
Oh.
And they interview the bum. Hey,
Okay.
did you?
Same bum was still there?
Yeah, he lives there. That's his house.
Is he the only bum there? Or
He's the only bum there.
Okay.
Maybe it's the sewer treatment plant that keeps everybody away. But they interview this guy and he says, yeah, no, about a year ago, guy in a black truck comes out here, parked, came out, never saw me, but he had a shotgun. So I kind of kept low. He threw the shotgun out in the trees here and then he left. So I went and got the shotgun. I sold that for $25. And they're like, holy shit, they're telling the truth. So it does go full circle that, yep, he dumped the shotgun there. But, other things happen sometimes when we don't recover evidence, like the bum in the trees, the bush bum.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's okay to say bums, but I guess it kind of is because...
Bums call bums bums.
Yeah, they do. I had an experience when I went to go book somebody at 4th Avenue Jail. So I had to have to go from Gilbert to Phoenix.
This is like downtown kind of nasty Phoenix.
Yeah. So you're going into a completely different jurisdiction. But after I booked my person into jail and I was coming back, and granted, it's late at night. It's about 1 a.m. My shift doesn't end until 7 a.m. But I'm parked on the street getting ready to go on the freeway back to Gilbert, still in Phoenix. And this man comes running up to me in the middle of the median, knocks on my window, and he's clearly needs some help, it appears. But I roll down my window and I ask him, is everything okay? And he says, somebody stole my bum stuff.
I do believe there's a difference in homelessness and homeless people and then what we're referring to as bums.
Yeah.
People need to understand there are particular people who want to be homeless, who have made the decision that they're happy living that way. Mm-hmm. This guy had his own little bum camp going. He liked it. He didn't want to change. He doesn't want anybody's help. He just wants to be left the hell alone.
Right.
And he would call himself a bum because he's kind of bumming around, right? That's the whole concept.
Is that where bumming around came from?
I'm sure it is. And bummer, that's a real bummer. Like you don't want to live in the street. I think people need to understand there is a difference between homeless people and, somebody who's down on their luck who's living in their car. I would never call a bum. Right. This is a very particular subset of individual who themselves, if you talk about, they'll be like, yeah, I'm just a bum. And I've had many, many people I've come in contact with over the years in law enforcement like, hey, what do you do? I'm a bum. Like they just own it.
They do own that they're a bum. The other thing I think that's interesting is there are, I think, a lot of cities out there that really try to promote helping homeless people or helping even bums. But I think a lot of people don't realize that some of these bums don't want help. They're just happy right where they're at.
They want to be left alone.
And the thing is, you can't just take these people in for help without taking all of their personal belongings with you and them and impound everything that they have. That reality is not clear to them of what that's like.
I think anybody who's ever struggled with any type of addiction is going to agree with us. The first step in change or getting help is the person has to want change or the person has to want help. Moving on. They've got the shotgun. They've got the DNA evidence. They've got the Burger King bag with his credit card statement, the tire tracks, the shoe prints. When he first gets arrested, he actually makes a phone call where he's bragging to somebody on the phone. They ain't got shit on me. And I remember the prosecutor telling me like, oh no, he feels very comfortable that we don't have anything on him. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, oh, what an idiot. It's interesting. In another interview later on, he will admit, okay, you got me. I did try to lure Cody out into the desert, but it's because he has a car and I knew he'd get stuck. I was just trying to get him to get stuck. I didn't kill him. But the tire tracks, the shoe, and I'm thinking, if you're going to admit anything, don't admit that. You just put yourself at the car. Anyway.
Did he mention Natalie at all and his relationship with Natalie?
I wasn't really a part of any of that, so I don't know if he did or not. It's very clearly motivated by Cody ain't going to be with Natalie. That's, right. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what's here. And I want to talk a little bit as we wrap this week's episode up about the wheels of justice. Sometimes they're very, very slow.
Yes, they can be.
This crime occurred in January of 2017. That's when Cody was killed. William was arrested in February, within a month, actually within about a week and a half. William's in custody, and he will never get out of custody. He is still in custody today. Mm. By June of 2017, lab reports are back. The phone information is done. Like, this case is solid. It is buttoned up really, really tight. He just pled in August, this last summer, August of 24, 7 years. And this didn't even go to court. There was no trial. Just to get to the plea deal, it took 7 years.
Do we know, obviously there was COVID in between then, but what other factors were creating this long wheel of justice turn? This
particular county in Arizona has had a pretty big growth spurt. So there are kind of some growing pains where they have a lot of cases and not a lot of employees. Mm-hmm. So they're backed up in the beginning. You throw COVID on top of that. COVID threw a huge monkey wrench in there. There was also what appears to be, in me going through the records, maybe some mental health, insanity type defense that might have been being looked at one point because there's some psychological evaluations. Those always take forever to get done the right way. Just a lot of different pieces. But I hear people a lot that'll be like, oh, it's been a year. They haven't done anything. I think it's important to understand that, especially on murder cases where people are potentially going to prison for the rest of their lives, taking 2 or 3 years is actually really, really common. That would be the normal time frame. 4 or 5, I would say, is probably fairly average. And then we get cases like this where seeing 6 and 7 years is not abnormal. It's actually fairly common. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, he's going to plead guilty when it all comes to the final piece here. He's going to get life in prison with no possibility of parole.
Good.
Here's a picture of him at his sentencing. Looks a little bit more cleaned up. I think jail's been good on him.
Yeah, he's like he's got more meat on his bones for sure.
Yeah, he's been cleaned up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Probably just accepted his fate there. I think the moral of this story is don't get catfished. Like, don't even go fishing in that pond.
And if it's somebody that you do accept a friend request from because you see other people you know are friends with them, reach out to those people first and make sure that they really do have connections with that individual. Or
the FaceTime, video chat, however you pull it off. Right. The video chat in this case would have stopped this in its tracks, right? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine dialing over and William answers?
Right. I am curious how much William actually built out the Paige Woods profile. Did he actually have multiple pictures on there?
It sounds like he did, to include multiple friends. So he spent some time really putting thought into going out and intentionally befriending other people
Yeah.
And I found when I was putting this episode together, there is a Paige Woods who lives in this area, who's completely unrelated to this case.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he just kind of hijacked her page, if somehow he knew of her and thought, oh, he would fall for this type of chick. But it's interesting, within a 4-month period, he completely made this whole persona, and Cody fell for it.
Wow.
Don't do it, people.
Careful out there for catfishing.
Could you imagine having to date again?
No, I wouldn't. I'd just go travel the world. If something happened to you and I.
So much safer.
Yeah, I wouldn't date.
I'd go to Afghanistan.
You probably would. Thanks for joining us this week, Socialites. Have a great week and stay safe.
We probably should have named this episode Pitchforks and Torches.
And Brimstone.
Right. When the cops get something wrong, they're corrupt. It's this crazy conspiracy. When prosecutors screw up a case, there's corruption. It's conspiracy. When judges screw up the case, corruption, conspiracy. But when true crimers screw up a case, it's applauded.
It must be true.